And here we are, 16 teams, one dream. That is, of course, to raise the Larry O'Brien Trophy and to be the champions of the 2026 NBA season. That is the goal of today's episode. We're going to go through every single playoff series and crown a champion. As always, get in the comments section below. Leave your thoughts, your predictions, and of course, your finals matchup and who comes out on top. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. Taking a quick look at the Western Conference bracket, this is how it currently stands. The only difference is that we don't know for sure if it will be the Phoenix Suns or the Golden State Warriors at the time of this recording. I can promise you it won't make a difference, but it's still a loaded conference, tons of great players, and a lot of great series on hand. Let's not waste any time. Let's dive into it. The number one seed Oklahoma City Thunder will host either the Phoenix Suns or the Golden State Warriors. Now, the play-in wasn't friendly to my predictions, but I will predict that I will trust the consistency of Jordan Ott and the Phoenix Suns. I think their depth, their, overall consistency this season will be able to win that game against the Golden State Warriors to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, in the season series, the Thunder won it 3-2. They played 5 games, which included a play-in tournament game there around the mid-season mark. The Thunder are just pretty much better at every single team statistic. They have the best player in this game. They have the more experienced roster, and they also have the championship DNA. All the strengths that the Phoenix Suns have, the Thunder are just better at. I mean, when you look at the defensive side of the ball, for example, the Suns are a top 6 team as far as allowing the least amount of points per game, but they're also a top 3 team at forcing turnovers. The Thunder are better in both of those strengths. So as far as having the experience, the continuity, the better coaching staff, the Thunder will have their way in this one, winning it 4-1. Maybe the Suns will grab game 3 or game 4 in front of the home crowd to extend the series. But the Thunder, after that one wake-up call of a game, they will continue to handle business and move on to the second round. If it is the Warriors, I will give it the same gentleman's sweep, 4-1. Out of respect for Stephen Curry and the potential last deep playoff run that Curry could have. Second round, they would take on the winner of either the Lakers, led by 41-year-old LeBron James, or the Houston Rockets, where Kevin Durant would make his return to Oklahoma City. For the Lakers in this one, they come in with a slightly better offense, and they also force a little bit more turnovers per game than the Houston Rockets. But the identity is set, the identity is clear for the Houston Rockets. They shoot the 3-ball incredibly efficiently. They're top 10 in the league, but they also have the best defense in the NBA. As far as the rebounding disparity, that's going to be the difference in this series outside of the fact that LeBron at 41 will be expected to carry a team. The Rockets are a 26th spot higher of a team as far as rebounding the basketball. And for a team in the Lakers that are missing their top stars, you're going to need to win these dogfights of games that could be lower scoring. And the Rockets, they're just not going to let you get those extra possessions, right? So every possession, every shot is going to matter for the LA Lakers. They need players to play above their means and above their roles this entire season. We're going to need those magical Luke Kennard performances. Rui Hachimura to have a surprise double-double here and there. And we're also going to need LeBron James at 41 years old to put that cape on yet again and to give this team a real shot. But under Ime Udoka, I mean, this was a team that was the 2nd seed last year. Though they lost in the first round, they now have a taste of what playoff basketball feels like. And their players have only come back better, more experienced, more confident. And they added Kevin Durant to the roster. Though the Lakers won the season series, those included Luka Doncic. He will not be here for the first round. As much as I love LeBron James, as much as the fact that he's been playing basketball since I was 6 months old and he's been dominating the league that entire time, I think I will give them a game. I think just like an Eastern Conference series, the most important game in this series for the Lakers is game number 1. If they fall behind at any point in the series, it's over. If they can stay 1-1, 2-2, 3-3 without going down, then the Lakers got a shot. Maybe if the Rockets come out and they don't have the greatest series, then the Lakers can have a shot. But again, I think if they don't win game 1, it could be a sweep. I will give them game 1, but I do think the Rockets get it together under Ime Udoka with the huge defensive and rebounding edge. And Kevin Durant takes them home just like he's done in the last few series against a LeBron-led team. So the Rockets will move on to the second round to take on the reigning champion Oklahoma City Thunder, man. Great storyline there. Kevin Durant back to Oklahoma City. Two great defenses, two great coaches. That could be a classic. Now, in the bottom half of the Western Conference bracket, we have the San Antonio Spurs, which don't have the most experience, and you will hear that about 20 times over before the series gets underway. They will host the Blazers, a team that I was super high on in the preseason, super high on in this entire regular season. We get to the play-in, and for some reason, I got cold feet. I went away from the team that I was rooting for all season long, and they made me look stupid. Incredible showing from Denny and the young group there in that first play-in game, and now they get to take on the San Antonio Spurs in the first round. For the Spurs, you're better pretty much at everything on paper, man. You're a top 3 offense. You're an above average 3-point shooting team, top 2 rebounding team, which these slower games, that rebounding, those extra possessions are going to matter. And you're also a far better defensive team top to bottom. When I look at this team, I will say this. I do expect the Blazers to win one of the first 2 games. With their experience of Jrue Holiday, with their defensive length there with Matisse Thybulle and Kamara, and of course Jeremy Grant, Donovan Clingan, I do think that they will shock us. They will win one of these first 2 games in San Antonio, though at the end of the day, the Spurs have that ultimate X factor. When you look at their experience, it is a real concern, but I think after that first loss, that will be the wake-up call they need. And I do think this will be a very tough, very close 5-game series in favor of the Spurs, where they will drop one of the first 2, but take care of business in the remainder of the series. So the Spurs will win this series 4-1 and move on to the second round to take on the winner of this one. Now, I am not a fan of any Western Conference team, and outside of LeBron maybe making a magical run and winning it at this point in his career, whoever the winner of this series is my pick for the West. As far as who I would root for, basketball side of mind, I would want the winner of the Nuggets or the Timberwolves to win the Western Conference and to win and to go to the NBA Finals. Whether if it is Jokic or Ant, putting on that Superman cape, having magical performances in series, night in and night out, would be special to watch. Now, in this matchup, I believe they met twice before. Once when Ant and this team was incredibly young, they were the 8th seed, and the Nuggets won that series. They met a couple years ago where the Timberwolves got their revenge in a 7-game classic. So now it is the rubber match. Now we get to see these teams meet yet again in the postseason, and it is the same exact story as it's been in years prior, where the Nuggets have the number 1 offense, and they are the number 1 3-point shooting team on the back of Nikola Jokic, and they're kind of a middle-of-the-pack defensive team. The Timberwolves are a defensive-led team, but they're not too far behind offensively. As you see, they are top 7 in points per game and 3-point shooting as a team. When you look at this matchup, it's a bit different. I think the Timberwolves have added a bit more depth at their guard spots. The Nuggets have a deeper roster than the last time these teams met in a playoff series. At the end of the day, like I mentioned, whether if it's Anthony Edwards and a magical run or Jokic showing he's still at the top of the mountain, I want to see the winner of this series win the conference and go to the finals. I do think we get another classic, but I do think the ultimate factor is that Jokic is still the best player in the world. In a 7-game series at home against a team that they've seen many times before, which both of these teams know each other far too well. I'm going to give the edge to the home team, and that is with the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. It would not shock me if this series goes any way, to be completely honest, but I do expect a deep series. I expect the Nuggets to win it. And that leads me to my Western Conference first round and remainder predictions. You see my picks in the first round where I had the Thunder, the Rockets meeting in the second round, and then we have the 2 best big men in the game. Jokic and the Nuggets will go to San Antonio to take on the San Antonio Spurs. As far as the Rockets and the Thunder, 2 great defensive teams, 2 great coaching staffs. One has just a far better offense, and they have far more ways to beat you. That is the Thunder, right? Whether if it's a random Aaron Wiggins game, or a random AJ Mitchell game, they have more of those players that can pop off and win you a game than the Rockets do. Whereas if Lou Dort gets his way with Kevin Durant in 1 or 2 of the games of this series, where's the rest of that offense going to come from? Can Sengun step up to the plate? Can Amin Thompson knock down the outside shot and step up to the plate and win some of these big-time matchups if Kevin Durant doesn't have a magical performance? Now, that's an off occasion, right? Kevin Durant's an all-time great for a reason, but I just trust the depth and the overall continuity of the Rockets, or excuse me, of the Thunder more than the Rockets. So the Thunder will go to the Western Conference Finals against the San Antonio Spurs. Um, of course, this might be the most anticipated playoff matchup, where if the Nuggets were able to go to San Antonio after a 7-game series to take on the Spurs. These teams met a few weeks ago, absolute classic of a game, went to overtime, and Jokic had to hit the game-winning shot to knock off the San Antonio Spurs, who didn't have their greatest day. I think the Spurs in a 7-game series with the home crowd advantage, with the rest advantage, will win it in a 6 or 7-game series and advance to the Western Conference Finals. So that would set up the Thunder, the Spurs, and as you see, I'm rolling with the Young Guns. If it gets to this point, I'm rooting for Victor Wembanyama and company to really make their first NBA Finals. We would have the Defensive Player of the Year in this series versus the MVP in back-to-back years and the reigning champion in Shea and the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Spurs have had their way with the Thunder in the regular season series. That playoff experience, I do think, could be the ultimate X factor as far as in favor of the Oklahoma City Thunder. But if it gets to this point, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm rooting for the young team, a team that has 7 double-digit point-per-game scores, a team that is led by a generational talent in Victor Wembanyama. I want to see that on the biggest stage. So give me the Spurs in a tight 6-7 game series. Maybe they close it off on their home court in 6 games against the reigning champion, the Thunder. Give me the Spurs to go from a team that was projected to barely make the playoffs to all the way to the NBA Finals. Incredible story in that regard. In the Eastern Conference, here is how the playoff picture currently stands. As the Sixers won that first play-in game, they will take on the Boston Celtics, but that 8 seed is still up for grabs. It's going to come down to the Orlando Magic and the Charlotte Hornets. It seems as though the Orlando Magic have given up. Right? Last game of the season, they're playing the majority of their rotation, and they lose to the third-string G League team of the Boston Celtics when they're playing their full rotation. That is incredibly embarrassing. It seems as though at times that Jamal Mosley has lost this locker room. Though they're still a top half of the league defensive unit, they are not as dominant as they've been in years prior, and the same story goes for this season as it has the entirety Jamal Mosley era and tenure. He cannot figure out how to maximize these stars together on the court. And to his defense, they haven't been healthy, but still, they also went into that play-in as a bit of a favorite there against the Sixers with no Joel Embiid, and they lost the game, right? Paolo Banchero had a horrendous performance there against the 76ers, and it just seems like they've given up. So I'm going to roll with a team in the Charlotte Hornets that somehow, some way survived the Miami Heat. And they did that with LaMelo Ball and Concacaf shooting like 2 of 24 from 3 combined. That's not going to happen again. They're going to beat the Orlando Magic. They will advance to the playoffs, and Jamal Mosley will be fired as the Orlando Magic head coach. But let's dive into this series. The Detroit Pistons come in with a better offense, despite what many would believe, but they are also a far better defensive unit. Whereas the Hornets, of course, will be the ultimate college basketball team. They would be the ultimate Cinderella story. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. America will be rooting for the Charlotte Hornets in this series, because if there's going to be this major upset in the first round, it's going to be the Charlotte Hornets over the Detroit Pistons, because of the volume of threes that they make comparative to the Pistons, where there's a 13-spot difference as far as how successful these teams are at making the long ball. And that's going to help the Hornets, man. If you are a road team in any series, just being able to go out there and outscore the home team is the ultimate X factor, right? Though the defense, there's a big disparity in the Pistons compared to the Hornets, that offense alone will keep you in every single game. However, I do think the Pistons are going to win. I'm going to get that out of the way. I think the Pistons will win. I do think it will be closer than people expect, though. Every single year, we get a series that goes longer than expected, like I mentioned, and I think this will be that series. So I think the Pistons will always be in control, where they will never go down in this series. They will go up 1-0, then 1-1, then 2-1, etc., etc. They'll never go down in this series, but I do think it will be a longer series than they expected or want, especially with a longer road ahead. The Pistons will win it in 7 in front of their home crowd, never going down in this series, but the Hornets give them a run for their money. If it is the Magic, I'm going to be honest with you, I think it's a sweep 4-0, though the Magic were a split season series. I don't really buy into that so much when it comes to the postseason. JB Bickerstaff and company will advance to the second round. Now, my hometown team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, will host the Toronto Raptors. Unfortunately, I will not be in attendance for any of these games, at least not yet. But for the Cavaliers, it seems as though when LeBron James is not in a Cavaliers uniform, we cannot beat the Toronto Raptors. It seems like when LeBron was here in that second stint, we could not beat the Utah Jazz. It's just one of those things where I'm sure all of you guys can relate. There's always that one team, no matter how good or bad they are, your team can just not consistently beat. For my Cavaliers team, post LeBron James, it is the Toronto Raptors, man. Every single year, whether if we're at home in Toronto, we always struggle to get in the win column. And I believe coming into this playoff series, we've lost the last 7 straight games against the Toronto Raptors. I don't fact check me on that. It's just kind of a gut check. It feels like we haven't beat this team in 2 years. So we're at home in this one with a far better offensive team and far more versatility as far as how we can attack on the offensive end of the floor. We come in with an offense 4th in the NBA compared to 21st. 3-point shooting, we're 8 spots higher. We are a borderline top 10 rebounding team compared to bottom 7 in the league there in the Toronto Raptors. But at the end of the day, the Toronto Raptors are going to be gritty. They're going to be feisty is another word you can throw out there. Scotty Barnes always has his best career games against the Cleveland Cavaliers because of this rivalry with Evan Mobley. There's so many inconsistencies that my Cavaliers have had in recent playoff years. If there's going to be an upset in a series that goes downhill quick, it's going to be this series. I can see the Raptors winning this 4-1. However, man, with the addition of James Harden, with the fact that this is year 3 with Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley, it's now or never, man. If we lose in a quick and underwhelming playoff first-round series, I'm a Cavaliers fan and blow it up, right? Let Donovan Mitchell, let's trade him. Let's kind of rebuild this thing around Evan Mobley, though I'm not the biggest Evan Mobley believer. We're going to need to change something up in a dramatic way. However, I do think with the versatility, with James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, with the shooters that we have, the depth that we have, we're not so isocentric like the Toronto Raptors are. And I'm just going to trust the veterans that the Cavaliers have comparative to Emmanuel Quickley and Grady Dick and these depth pieces of the Raptors to step up comparative to what the Cavaliers have and guys like Strus and Sam Merrill, etc., etc. So the Cavaliers will win this series in 7 games. So that sets up a second-round series where the Pistons and the Cavaliers are coming off of tough 7-game first-round series. They're going to be tired, man, going in that second-round series. We'll talk about that in a moment. The 2-seed Boston Celtics will host the Philadelphia 76ers, who I picked against in that play-in game. And again, they made me look stupid. I will be the first to admit my faults, my downsides. The 76ers in this year's play-in general has just not gone in my favor. So hopefully we get back on track with the playoffs. In this matchup, these teams have met many times before. However, no Joel Embiid for this one. No James Harden for this one, which we've had in recent years in this, of course, star-studded matchup. But what we do have is the same core of the Boston Celtics, and dare I say, they look scarier, or at least they feel scarier as a general NBA fan comparative to what they did last year. Man, this is a team that is a better 3-point shooting team, a top 3 rebounding team, and the best overall defense in the NBA as far as points allowed. Comparative to the 76ers, which have a slightly better offense and they force a large amount more of turnovers. I think the Celtics have too much depth. They have a better coaching staff, and this is a far more experienced unit together. I think the Sixers can put up a fight. I do think this will be a series that shocks us in the reverse of that Hornets series, where that one goes longer than expected. I think this one will be shorter than expected. It will be a very tough, very close, and I mean it. This series will come down to the late game moments every single time. The Celtics will win it 4-0. I think they will sweep the Sixers, but Tyrese Maxey might average 40 in this series. VJ Edgecombe might have a crazy defensive stretch in this series where he is limiting Jaylen Brown and or Jason Tatum. Paul George might come out there. I will say this. I think the Sixers' big three might average 70% of this team's points. But I think the Celtics, with how deep they are, with how experienced they are, with their coaching advantage, will win all of the tough games late. So 4-0 in favor of the Celtics to move on, to take on the winner of this one. Perhaps the most exciting first round series. Man, the Knicks, the Hawks, 3-6 matchup where we have the Knicks, who were my preseason favorite to win the conference, haven't lived up to any expectations I set on them in the preseason. This is a team that they are top 5 in three-point shooting, but so are the Atlanta Hawks. They are a top 7 rebounding team and a top 5 defense in the NBA as far as points allowed. These two teams match up extremely well. On paper, there are definitely some glaring disparities as far as the defensive side goes, but the Atlanta Hawks are getting hot at the right time. They are a completely different unit compared now to when they had Trae Young in the first half of the year. Jalen Johnson's playing like an all-NBA level player. So is Jalen Brunson. But overall, the vibes on these two teams tell you the Atlanta Hawks will win this series. At the end of the day, maybe I'm drinking the juice. This is another series like the Cavaliers series where I could be completely wrong. And this could be a 5-game series in favor of the underdog. But I'm going to roll with the New York Knicks, man. 7-game series. So that marks 3 7-game series in the Eastern Conference side of things, which is heavily going to favor the team in green in Boston as they swept. The other 3 teams had to go through dogfights. We had to go through longer series. And I think that will ultimately be the edge as why you will see I have Boston going to the NBA Finals. In the Knicks-Celtics series, I know these teams met last year. I know the Celtics had built their team to strategically beat the New York Knicks. The Boston Celtics. But last year was, again, the Knicks were going to win that one, right? They got the Celtics number. This year, I just can't see that being the same thing. Again, I think the Celtics are scarier this year than they were last year. And the Knicks, though they made that head coaching change, nothing has really changed, man. They're far too Jalen Brunson reliant. They're going to put up a fight in that series against the Celtics. But the Celtics have revenge on their mind. And I think they know they want to get back to the top of the mountain. I think the Celtics win that one in 5 games. 5 games. Again, it's going to be another tough series where Jalen Brunson tries to do everything he can. But ultimately, the Knicks are going to fall short. And they are not the team that I thought they would be previous to the season. But maybe that's just me being hopeful because I like Jalen Brunson. Now, on the top half of the bracket, there's an upset, right? Finally, we got an upset here in my postseason predictions where the Cavaliers will knock off the Detroit Pistons, and this is simply 40% bias, 60% confidence because of the ways that we can attack Detroit. If Cade Cunningham has an off night, I don't know if they can survive offensively. If the Cavaliers, if Donovan Mitchell has an off night, we still have 2 or 3 guys that can step up to the plate and answer the call. Yes, I know Jalen Duren's playing like an all-NBA center, and they have 2 of those guys compared to 1 that the Cavs have in Donovan Mitchell. As far as the home court advantage, I get it. As far as the fact that we are playing a former coach in JB Bickerstaff, I get it. We are going to know each other in this series very well. But I think the Cavaliers will go to 7 games again, and they will beat the Detroit Pistons, man. I trust the overall roster and the depth of the Cavaliers more than I trust the overall roster and depth of the Detroit Pistons. Whether if they want to go small rotation or large rotation, I think that favors the Cavaliers in both regards. And this is finally the breakthrough the Cavaliers have been looking for. But going to the conference finals, you play the Boston Celtics. You've played 14 games compared to the Celtics' 9 games. The Celtics come in way more rested, not breaking a sweat far as much as the Cavaliers have. And as a Cavaliers fan, I'm going to admit, this is where the road ends. I think the Celtics will sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers. Maybe they get a game, but ultimately the Celtics will sweep the Cavaliers. We have never had their number like they have had ours. And the Celtics will go to the NBA Finals to take on the San Antonio Spurs. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is my first round playoff predictions. We will revisit the second round later on as we know that picture comes to light. But overall, if the Celtics and the Spurs were to meet in the NBA Finals, give me the Celtics to get back to the top of the mountain. Their versatility, their continuity, their coaching advantage in that series is huge. And plus, their road is going to be a lot easier. Now, I know the hardest team that they would play would be the Spurs in the NBA Finals. However, the Spurs at that point would have had to go through the the Portland Trailblazers, which are a feisty young group. Then you would have to go through Nikola Jokic in a longer series. Then it would have to be the reigning champs in the Thunder. So the Spurs, though they are out overcoming their inexperience, as some would tell you, to get to the finals, the road is 1,000,000% harder than what the Knicks or what the Celtics would have had to go through, which is the Sixers with no Embiid, the Knicks who are not the same team as they were last year and in years prior, and then taking on a Cavaliers team that is extremely tired going into that Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Celtics go into that finals a lot more rested and a lot more confident, right? A lot less beat up, and again, hopefully a lot less injuries. Hopefully no injuries take place. So to recap, you have my first round predictions, you have my entire predictions, and my NBA Finals winner will be the Boston Celtics with Jaylen Brown yet again being the Finals MVP. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my 2026 outlook. Now it's your turn. Get in the comment section below and let me know your predictions, your upsets, your finals matchup, and MVP. I'm excited to see what you guys have to say, man, because I know a lot of you guys will not agree with what I just told you.